CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris joins us now from Washington. Steve, these CBO numbers aren't good. There are reports about White House numbers that aren't good as well. How much harder do you think will it be with these figures making the ability to get this bill passed?
Well, I think what you're seeing, especially when you see people like Paul Ryan go out there and try to highlight some of the few positive numbers in there to basically tell his members that this isn't all bad, despite what the CBO says and despite what Democrats are saying. There are some good numbers in here. But think about the numbers, the top line numbers that are really causing so much controversy here. The 24 million that would lose insurance coverage by in the next 10 years. This really is something that Democrats are going to really hold in front of Republicans' faces and say, not only are you basically kicking people off insurance, but this is going to negatively affect poor Americans, older Americans. And these are the kinds of things that Republicans, when they're running for re-election next year, don't want to have to answer for. So it's going to make it pretty difficult.
Steve, Speaker Ryan is touting lower premiums and deficit reductions. Do you think Americans will be able to look past the uninsurance numbers?
Well, that's the big question, right? We have to see how voters are basically going to react to the latest round of numbers coming out of the CBO. Given the less than enthusiastic response from Republicans who were on the fence before the CBO numbers, post CBO report, I think it's going to be tough. I mean, I think Republicans who are on the fence about this or are against it are seeing what the potential electoral problems could be for them next year. And again, these aren't numbers that you want used in ads against you when you're running for re-election. These are basically bumper stickers that are handed to the Democratic Party to slam Republicans with next year.
Is it too early to tell, Steve, how this bill and potentially whether it passes or not could affect 2018?
Oh, I mean, nothing's been passed, right? So nothing's been voted on. We'll see what happens ultimately. But, what it could do, first of all, especially with the Medicaid expansion being rolled back, that's going to put some Republicans who are representing states that are actually benefiting from that Medicaid expansion. It's going to put them in an awkward position next year, places like Ohio. There are people running for re-election there next year. And that, again, it's going to put some Republicans in really awkward places. And again, the question is, what is the ultimate result of, first of all, what is the bill going to look like at the end of the day? Secondly, what is the ultimate result going to be? Is it going to be as dramatic as the CBO says it's going to be? And if it is, then that might not be so good for Republicans next year. But it's too early to predict what kind of effect this is going to have. I think what I'm suggesting is that if it looks like what the CBO says is going to look like, what it does is it gives Democrats a lot to put in their campaign ads to run against Republicans next year. All
right, Steve, let's go and talk about the Freedom Caucus. One of its members, Congressman Jim Jordan, today said conservatives are working with the White House on changes to that plan. Any indication on whether they'll get on board?
Well, first of all, the changes have to be made, and this is really, I think, talking about House conservatives. Some of the changes they want, first of all, they want that rollback of Medicaid to happen more quickly, and then they also are talking about getting rid of some of these tax subsidies that are in there. But the rollback, if it happens, and if it happens more quickly, again, as I said earlier, it puts some of these moderate Republicans or these Republicans in states where the Medicaid expansion is working, or at least the Republicans feel it's working, it puts them in an awkward position. And so it may help them get this bill through the House because of conservative support. But then in the Senate, you've got several senators who say they don't want to see these changes happen, or they don't even really want to see the bill as is come over to the Senate side. So they've got a whole set of problems on the Senate side, regardless of what changes they make to it in the House side.
Before we let you go, Steve, I want to ask you about the Justice Department. They're asking for more time to provide evidence of wiretapping. And yesterday we saw Sean Spicer kind of try to walk back the wiretapping tweet. What's your take on all this?
What's my take? Well, I mean, it is what it is. What it is that the president went out there with a remarkable tweet suggesting allegations that he had been wiretapped by the previous administration. The White House has been unable to provide evidence of that claim, and they've really sort of backtracked on it over the last week and a half. And now the Justice Department has been dragged into this by Congress to say you need to come up with evidence to show or to back up what President Trump said. And the Justice Department is now scrambling to do that. And so, we'll see what the Justice Department comes up with. But since those tweets have come out, we haven't seen any evidence from either President Trump or his administration on this.
All right, you're on top of it. Steve Chaggaris in Washington. Steve, thank you.
Thanks.